Hey. Promo code's Dangle. The website is manscaped.com. The benefits, 20% off and free shipping. Let's start the show. It's Friday. Woo!
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Powered by Sports Interaction. Canada's Sportsbook.
SDP. The Steve Dangle Podcast. With your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
So I have to ask this question because I think it's a crazy thing that we're even having this discussion. It really is. Mm-hmm. But Jesse, how dare you and Drew? How dare you and producer Drew put up a video on YouTube saying that John Cooper ruined Nazem Kadri's moment? Yeah. How dare the Jesse Blake Sports Report?
You think it was off? You think it was too many men on the ice?
I think if anybody ruined
what we start with, right?
If anybody ruined Nazem Kadri's moment, it's Jared Bednar's terrible change.
Nathan McKinnon's
terrible
poor
change.
leadership.
You think it was too many men on the ice?
It was too many men on the ice. It was.
If he had whole wheat pasta, he would have been on the bench.
You never seen a line change happen from overhead where that happens 5 times a game.
But if you have possession of the puck and you have that many feet on the ice, and I believe there was 14 feet instead of 10, it's too much.
There was also 7 Tampa Bay Lightning on the ice at the exact same time.
They didn't have possession of the puck.
I would like to thank John Cooper for ruining hockey next year.
Why did he ruin hockey next year?
Video review.
This is how it works.
Oh, they complained about it, and then there's a review?
Matt Duchene ruined hockey for a calendar year because of his stupid, shitty offside.
Can you explain that one again? Because there are people that do not know that story.
So he was offside by approximately 75 feet. More realistically 6, but like way... Anyone who officiates professionally should have seen it. It was not even close. Scores a goal. Teams got upset. I'm pretty sure it was Avs versus Preds.
Right.
Which is funny because now he's on the Preds. And then there were reviews that ruined the sport. It made goals impossible to cheer for. Mm-hmm. We still have the reviews, but now they're a little bit more under control because of the reviews and everything. So now, what do we get? What's the overcorrection? Do we get reviews for too many men? Is that going to be the overcorrection? Do we get officials calling too many men every second shift because that's how often it happens? Ooh, can't wait. Thanks, John. Thanks, man.
I think
appreciate that.
You guys, hold on. Nothing's happened yet. Nothing's even changed. You guys are like, he ruined it.
Been here too long, Adam. It's ruined.
Come on. They don't change.
Hockey next
the
year.
NHL doesn't change shit. They don't change anything. They don't change anything. Unless it's like completely embarrassing to them. I can guarantee the NHL's not embarrassed by this. They don't give a shit. They don't care. Too bad. So suck it up. I think the rule is if you have, and this is what the spirit of the rule should be. I don't have the exact wording in front of me, but the spirit of the rule should be is if you have possession of the puck, you should have 5 people on the ice. And I'm not talking about, and I know they've talked about in front of the benches having like a thing where it's like a safe zone. So if you're on the ice in the safe zone, you're okay, which I'd be down with.
So your understanding of the rule is that there should be 5 people if you have possession
in possession, or somebody should be going off because the problem is it's puck possession, is it not?
Jesse, are you bringing up one of the 19 Tampa goals that they've scored with too many men on the ice?
No, that's whataboutism. I'm not even going to go down that road.
Well, how is it irrelevant?
I'm bringing up
it's completely irrelevant.
Rule 70 of the NHL book, which accounts for what kind of happened in the OT with the OT goal.
So let's hear it.
When a player is retiring from the ice surface and is within 5 foot limit of his player's bench and his substitute is on the ice, then the retiring player shall be considered off the ice for the purpose of Rule 70, leaving the bench. If you're within 5 feet of the bench, there is a grace period where you're off the ice.
I agree with that.
That is in the rule book.
So there was a goal that was called back, and if I'm not mistaken, it was the 2019 playoffs, Colorado versus St. Louis, and St. Louis was greatly favored at the time. They were outplaying Colorado. Colorado had a goal called back because Landeskog was getting off the ice, was not a part of the play. It was called back because he was offside. because the bench was technically inside the blue line.
Yeah.
Based on the rule that you just read, no. Well, how is he offside if he's not considered a player on the ice?
Did they consider him with outside of 5 feet?
He was touching the bench.
I don't know.
He was
know.
And once again, here we are with the NHL rulebook. I don't know which one's wrong, but it's one of them.
I don't know.
But guys, it would take 5 years to rewrite it, so why change it? That's what they said. Now listen, it does the
NHL
incongruencies do lead to discussions like this.
Yes.
And while I love and respect my friend Jesse and love and respect producer Drew, I disagree. I do. I feel like
You think John Cooper was right to be a big baby?
and listen, it's not like Steve brought it up. That I have a couple shows in a day. It happens. There was the goal against the Islanders. I think that went in. That Tampa had too many men on the ice.
Yep.
Here's the thing. That's wrong too.
Yeah.
The people are like, well, you can't be okay with that. Who said it was?
No. Yeah. I often go back to this. No. That's wrong too.
Yes, we are on the same page
Yeah.
here.
Do you see how? Well, I guess what we're getting at is it's a little rich for John Cooper.
That's fair.
The Lightning have gotten away with it a million times. And I went as far back, and I've brought up this goal several times, but 2012, Calder Cup final. I shan't get unbent about this. 2012 Calder Cup final, Norfolk Admirals, Tampa's farm team, coached by John Cooper. The goal was offside. The OT winner, the only goal of the game. It was a 1-0 Norfolk win. Huge swing game. It's game 3. They're up 2-0. Marlies, they take one there. We have a series. Norfolk, they score. It's over. The series is over. The goal goes in. It's offside. We know it was offside because the AHL, after the game, said it was offside and apologized for getting the call wrong. John Cooper saying we should still be playing. They didn't replay that overtime. So it happens.
It does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen. That doesn't mean, though, that I feel like it was the correct thing to happen. And listen, I agree with the whole thing that game's over. You're not going to go replay it. I get all that. I do feel like if we're going to look at these pictures, maybe, is it fair to say we can all agree that maybe some clarity on the rule could help a little bit more?
Yeah, well.
Or the clarity on how it's called?
Way too
Because it
often.
wasn't 5 feet.
How many?
Right.
No, but how many times do we as a show encounter a play or a goal or anything where the vast majority of fans, like hardcores, the people
Who would listen to a hockey podcast.
Yeah, the people who listen to a hockey podcast are hardcores. The people who would be in the Discord for a hockey podcast are hardcores. And the vast majority of the hardcores are like, I don't know what the rule is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know if I should be upset. Like, it'd be better if we could just go hellfire and brimstone. This is outrageous that they would miss this. No, we don't even know. Right? So, but hockey and lacrosse are unique in the sports world where I told this story on the stream, and I think it got rudely interrupted by a goal, but tell it briefly here. Family friend from Scotland. I took them to their first ever hockey game. They'd never watched one on TV, online, nothing. It was a preseason game, Leafs and Habs. What was the most confusing part to him?
Offside?
Wasn't offside.
I don't know.
Wasn't icing. Wasn't the penalties either. Those were all relatively easy to grasp. The first thing he noticed is they're just allowed to swap players mid-play. So hockey is a unique beast in that way, and we're always, if we're gonna call a penalty every time there's more than 5 skaters on the ice, we have a problem.
That's true. Okay.
That's I had 2 really big gripes with the whole thing, the whole situation that happened. One being that we shouldn't act like it doesn't happen every game all the time. There was very smart hockey people on Twitter covering their eyes, acting like they've never seen a line change like this ever. And that was, I think, a little disrespectful to just the intelligence of people who watch hockey. 2, John Cooper decided to make that entire OT goal about himself and the team. He ruined what we should have come in here. The first 10 minutes of this podcast should have been a celebration of Nazem Kadri.
Yep.
We should have been here from the journey, from getting suspended to the injury to coming back to Kane hits him, then he has surgery on his thumb, then he comes and he scores an OT goal winner
In the Stanley Cup final.
to put his team on 3-1.
His first Stanley Cup final game.
We should have been celebrating Nas. And now we're here talking about this coach who decided to make it about himself and because he wanted to have a 2-minute rant in front of the media. And now nobody's talking about what a great moment that is for this kid. Not even a kid, this man. And is probably the defining moment of his career.
Drafted 2009. That's
overshadowed by a non-controversy. Because that's what it is.
A non-controversy.
What did we say? You're not reversing the goal. You're not taking back the win. What you're saying is irrelevant because the NHL is doing nothing about it because they don't care. The NHL doesn't give a shit.
And as a neutral observer of that game, if we're going to complain about every non-call, Colorado has the right to complain about. Dude,
both teams,
the
really.
amount of stuff that, and you knew, it's Kelly Sutherland and Wes McCauley, two of the oldest, that you say most experienced, two of the oldest officials in the league. They're not calling anything. It's the Stanley Cup final third period. They're not calling anything. Tampa took advantage of that the most. And one of the most egregious missed calls in the game was a trip against Nazem Kadri in the offensive zone. And he just sort of got up like, all right. And like he learned one thing I will say he has learned over his career, because as established, he's a grown man now. Just don't complain about it. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
You're not going to change anybody's mind.
Sports aren't fair. We do our best, but they're never going to be fully fair. I think
there was like 82 egregious calls that were just not called. They didn't call anything in the third period.
But the other little thing I would like to throw to you, Jesse, why should John Cooper give Nazem Kadri his moment? He's trying to win.
He doesn't have to. No, he can do this. If he thinks this is the best way to motivate his team, go ahead. Yeah. I'm just going to call you out for it. Because I don't think you're right at all, and I think you're being a little bit of a baby.
Absolutely, I agree. I didn't understand why.
I've been trying to figure out for the last 48 hours a better word than baby, but I couldn't do it.
I liked that. Well, I didn't like, but over time I've grown to appreciate it. If he was actually going for something, if he was going for, all right, I'm just going to ruin the narrative, or I'm going to completely change it, instead of being like, there were too many men. He goes, you'll see. Yeah. You'll see when you watch it back.
It's like
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
What they call that back in the day? Vague booking, when you put up a vague Facebook status, and then it'd be like,
been a tough day.
Yeah, been a tough. Don't talk to me today. Like, fuck off. What do you mean? Don't talk to you today? Now I gotta find out because I'm nosy.
Mike Stevens in the front row. I'll talk to you about it tomorrow.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Yes. No. Now I want to say big shout out to Mikey Stevens 81 on Twitter, who. He and his fellow man at the Hockey News, Stephen Ellis, checked the actual checker, the computer game sheet, and it had 6 Avs listed on the ice at the time.
And it wasn't even the right 6.
Yeah,
I know.
So those game sheets are computer generated. Yeah. It's not by a human, so it got it wrong.
No, it was totally well. And then they corrected it. Oh no, now there's only 5, and I'm like, but wait, one of these 5 isn't Nathan McKinnon.
Right, it wasn't even the right people.
He's the only relevant one in this conversation. He was so never. When it was 6 or 5, he was never one of the 6.
The NHL does nothing right.
I want to say this about John Cooper. John Cooper. I know that, Steve, you would have had more respect for it if he had done it intentionally. The guy was heated, but he has done what he has done, whether he intended to or not. He's done what a coach after a game like that needed to do, which is shift the narrative. Not a single person is talking about what is going to happen tonight in Colorado. Yeah. No one is talking about how in front of the best fans this postseason, and they are Colorado Avalanche fans, the best fans in the league, the loudest building in the league, he's got to go in there and try to squeak out a game so he can go home and try to squeak out another one. Good fucking luck, man. But nobody, do you see an article? Do you see a tweet? Do you see
the cup
anything?
is going to be in the building tonight?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Get awarded.
100%. They've taken it out of Chris Johnson's dad's place in Coburg,
which
is where it was sitting before.
Yeah, they lost it.
They lost.
He didn't bother to correct him.
And then,
I get it.
and then they're bringing it to. I have to say, it's a smart thing to do. And you're right, Jesse. I think we do need to talk about Nazem Kadri. Because there's a warm feeling you get as a Leaf fan. Yeah, I think there's a warm feeling you get when Nazem Kadri comes back from something like that. This is the thing, right? I will maintain this till the day I die. The Leafs had to trade Nazem Kadri in that situation. There's a lot of revisionist history of if that trade had gone well for the Leafs. Let's say the Leafs got Mikko Rantanen in that trade. Nobody's bitching about that trade, right?
Can you imagine?
But because you ended up with fucking Tyson Barrie, who was a total non-fit after they tried to trade him to Calgary for TJ Brody, who would have been a fit.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people going, well, the trade didn't work out, so therefore we never should have traded him. No, the Leafs lost. They played 14 games. He played in 3 of them.
Yep.
Against Boston.
I believe that was the case.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And got kicked out of 2 of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And remember,
He finished
everybody
one.
And nobody wants to talk about this. Did he not get suspended last year as well?
Yes, he did.
Yep.
He finished in his last 14 playoff games with the Leafs. He completed 1 of them.
So at a certain point,
It's kind
even
of
though
bad.
you built your team to be 3 centers deep, you wanted Matthews, you wanted Tavares, you wanted Kadri. That was the plan. You ended up with Kerfoot, who's been okay.
Kerfoot's been a fit for 3 years. Like, he's had a role in the lineup.
Yeah.
I have the Kadri stat wrong. Whatever. He played less than half.
The point is, the Leafs kind of were left with no choice. If they'd held on to him, there would have been a lot of questions about that. And imagine he goes and gets suspended a 3rd time, which he did. I
think 2 things can be true.
So for every Leaf fan that's like, oh, they never should have traded him. Well, yeah, you could say that now.
Right.
But give me a fucking break.
They never should have traded him for the guys they should have.
If he got suspended
Or they did.
3 games or 3 playoff series in a row, you'd be just as mad as everybody else was. But that doesn't mean that we don't support Naz. And I remember at the time, going, God, it sucks because I want him to be here and I know he can't be.
Yeah.
That guy loved being a Maple Leaf more than anything in the world.
And we loved him.
Yeah.
Everybody, League fans love Nazem Kadri. And so it's great to see him do what he's done, right? Like this season that he's put together is amazing. The playoffs that he's put together, the adversity that he overcame in the 2nd round, the injury at the end of the 3rd round, the fact that he is back in, and of course he has to score the overtime goal.
It's too good. And I was listening to the Chris Johnston show with CJ and Julian McKenzie.
Was Chris upset about not having the cup in his house anymore?
He was.
Because he did.
He was.
By the way, everybody just wanted to know that. Chris had it at his house.
Sure did.
In Coburg.
But Naz, like, I was talking about it before the game. I'm like, okay, so let's try to think about this. His right thumb is injured. That's his top hand. Stick handling is going to be impossible, and shooting is also going to be difficult. What does he do? Drags backhand to forehand, and then, as CJ pointed out, he like chopped it.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's a like, how do you read that as Andrei Vasilevsky? Because who shoots like that?
Oh, that's a good question.
You know what I mean? No one does that on purpose.
Yeah.
He didn't even really know where he shot the puck because he didn't know it went in.
Kaylee Sibley from Sportsnet on the social team got unreal footage from the corner of Nazem Kadri himself basically swearing, going, rah, because he thought he had been stopped.
Yeah, he was looking down at the pads at Vasi to see where the puck was because he didn't know it was up at top in the net.
Did you see my call?
No, I haven't seen your call. No.
I was so confused because where the puck should have been going, it was a goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't see it. The players aren't celebrating, and I'm like, something glitched in my feed then. I don't know what happened. And then the second I see the replay, I'm like, oh, holy shit, they won the game.
Yeah, I had the same reaction of when he shot it. I was like, oh, that's a goal. It went in.
Where'd it go, though?
That's where the puck was going, but then the puck wasn't there. And then my favorite part of that little sequence was the clip that was floating around of Steven Stamkos.
What was it? I didn't see this.
After game 3?
No, Steven Stamkos was the one who pulled the puck out of the net.
Oh.
And a lot of people, it's not true, but a lot of people tried to create the narrative that he was trying to hide the puck and that he threw it out and that he was trying to pretend it never went in. But it's not true. He just covered the puck and he pulled it out of the net.
If he pulled that off, I would respect it.
Oh, yeah.
If he, with a million cameras, like 20,000 spectators,
He hit an OT goal.
Heist of the century. Move over Seth Rollins. That's,
It was a fake narrative, but it was very funny that he had to be the one to pull it out of the net.
Did somebody do that to the Avs? Because they have like a puck. Was it the Lightning? Somebody, I forget who it was, Lightning or Avs, but in this series, one of these two teams collects the game puck every time they win, and they want to collect 16, obviously, right? But somebody else, I think it was...
Probably Corey Perry. Like,
No, I think it was one of the goalies. It might have been Kemper.
oh, really?
And I think he threw it into the crowd, but I think it was in Tampa in game 3, right? That they won their first game, or game 4? Game 3.
This happened
I'm pretty sure it happened this series.
Yeah,
where they threw it. So the goalie had
this
it.
happens every year.
So the goalie had it and he threw it into the crowd, but then it was in Tampa. So I think Tampa got it back, if I got my information correct. And so they've put it back into the dressing room.
I believe
so they found on the camera who got the puck, and they're like, hey, can we have that back? Isn't that hilarious, though, after the game?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I want to say it was like Chris Pronger. It was like, no, it's mine.
Somebody tried to do it to Austin Matthews, too, at his 4-goal game. Pretty sure.
Really?
I thought so, yeah.
And there was...
Can you imagine, like, fuck you, Rook?
Didn't Matthew Tkachuk have to chase down Brady Tkachuk to get up?
Did he? That's kind of funny.
Or vice versa?
You guys have told like 8 vague stories.
Yeah, sorry. Oh,
You're a vague story. I can't remember shit. You know that.
You know?
No, I'm
see
pretty
that
sure.
tweet that's like dudes at bar conversation is they'll just name a random athlete.
Oh, yeah.
Darren Helm.
Player. You remember that? You remember that cup run?
Yeah. Oh man. Hey, Max Talbot.
Oh, yeah. Also
Yeah.
cup run.
Man. Yeah, I could do that for 14 hours straight.
Could you?
Yes.
That's when I know I'm not connecting with someone, when we have to revert to that. I'm like, this is it's probably not a friendship here. You know?
Artemi Panarin. No?
I know.
What about?
Listen, it's the anniversary yesterday.
So
Did
what
you know that?
happens?
Big day for you.
What happens tonight?
Well, we'll find out, and you can bet that in a second. But what do you guys think happens tonight?
I think Tampa wins a game in Colorado.
Oh,
And much like in 300, a man who fancied himself a god feels a very human tingle down his spine. Because now you're Colorado.
who is Xerxes? Colorado? Is Colorado the Avalanche Xerxes?
I
or
haven't
is it-
decided. I think, no, it's Colorado.
Is it Cale Makar?
It's
Specifically?
You know what it reminds me of a little bit is the Raptors and Warriors, because Raptors were up 3-1 and we're all like, this is great. And then the Warriors in game 5 win in Toronto and we're like, oh, we're fucked.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
It was the Kevin Durant game where
Yeah.
he came back.
Yes,
and
it
then
was.
We all thought it was over. Actually, the Raptors had a shot at the buzzer to win the game. People forget that. Kyle Lowry in the corner hit the side of the backboard.
No.
Would have won the
No,
NBA
the Raptors
championship.
only won by mistake. Every American basketball fan ever.
No, but every Raptors fan thought the same thing
When
during
Durant was
game
in?
6.
Oh, yeah.
No, so that was game 5, but every Raptors fan thought the same thing during game 6. We lose this game,
Yeah.
we're probably not winning 7.
Yeah.
There's no way.
So there's a very interesting mental game here. And we're about to see what Colorado is made of
Jesse,
in that regard.
Who do you have?
By the end of this weekend, we're going to come here on Monday, and Steve, you better get your wallet ready. You're going to be buying me donuts.
Oh!
Whether it's in 5... What?
I don't even remember the bet.
Just Colorado versus Tampa. It was both of you, actually, because both of you picked Tampa.
Did I?
Yeah. So
I don't recall.
you don't, okay.
I don't recall.
Tapes.
I don't recall.
Yeah, by the end of the weekend, I think it's either 5 or 6. Colorado's going to close it out. I predicted Colorado in 7, but it'll probably be 6. It'll be over.
Colorado closing in Tampa.
I see. Listen. I think I'm part of that.
Last game in Tampa.
I'm part of the donut bet.
Yeah,
I think it ends tonight.
it's over.
I think it's over tonight.
Did nobody watch overtime? Overtime
Yeah.
was ridiculously on tilt.
Yeah.
Tampa was the better team for the first shift. And
That's true. And they scored.
it reminded me a lot of.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
It was either game 3 or 4 versus the Oilers, where McDavid scores first shift, and you're like, all right, the series isn't over yet.
Yeah.
And then Colorado's like, well, it is though, and just completely fucked them up.
Okay, so that's what we're going with. We're going to see what the odds makers say. Let's get into it. Of course, always with responsible gaming. This is really important. You can check out some tips on that at in the description of this video or description of wherever you get your podcast. And it's sportsinteraction.com/STPN. We ask 19 plus, and please play responsibly. Dave Bastel, Sports Interaction. You can follow him at Dave Bastel on Twitter at Dave Bastel and SIA Sports. So Lightning and Avalanche, Dave, honestly, I'm surprised to see this because we know how Tampa does things. Colorado's the favorite. According to the odds, this is over.
Heavy favorites too. Heavy favorites, Adam. No, it's you look at Colorado right now in Game 5, a 1.52, which is kind of telling us that if you want to put percentages on it, odds makers are probably 75 to 80% certain that the Colorado Avalanche will win and eliminate the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. You know what? I don't really have a lean. I don't know about you guys, but I want to think Tampa Bay still has a little bit left in that gas tank because we've seen it for so many years where you think they're down, but I don't know. Does it truly look like they're down right now? This feels differently.
It's because they are. Imagine a cockroach had two giant biceps. Like that to me is the Tampa Bay Lightning, and a team that has overcome the odds over and over again. And this might be their masterpiece.
Also, you've got this interesting prop here, David, at Sports Interaction to score 2 or more points. I've never seen this before, or we've never talked about it anyway.
No.
So what is this?
It's basically we run down about the top. I'm going to say roughly 10 to 12 offensive weapons on both sides and offer pretty decent increased odds for a 2-point night or better, right? So a lot of times you think to yourself, okay, Kadri with a pair, well, that would be a winner, or McKinnon with a pair, that would assist goals, whatever it is. So right now at Sports Interaction, we have Rantanen, Kucherov, McKinnon, all the usual suspects as the favorites, but a little bit of value when you look at your boy, Andre Palat. You can get him at about 4.5 to 1, right?
Like
I know you're on the Palat train or have
Yes.
been for a little bit. You can get him for 4.5. Even Alex Killorn is paying 8 to 1 for a 2-point now. Now, a 2-point night for him would be a sensational night because he isn't one of those players where you think, yeah, Nathan McKinnon, Alex Killorn, not one of these things is not like the other, right? Yep. But things have happened, right? Where you take a little bit of value and maybe they get you a couple helpers, a goal and an assist or anything like that to win your bet.
Killorn definitely leads the Lightning in almost goals.
Yes, he does. Jesse, I know that you think this series is over. Valerie Natushkin, would you take him at 4.5 tonight?
To score 2 or more points?
To score 2 or more points tonight.
Oh, no.
You wouldn't? Given the playoffs he's having?
4 to 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 4.5 to 1.
4.5 to 1? Yeah.
All right.
Way to be confident there, Jesse.
I'm wavering because, like, my pick. What's the odds on Cale Makar getting 2 points plus?
Cale Makar's a 2.90, so slightly elevated from a McKinnon, Kucherov, Rantanen, but still in that conversation. I think that's a pretty good flyer there.
I would put $10 on each of those.
Okay.
One of them is going to pay out.
You guys have never watched the Stanley Cup final before. Darren Helm.
Dave Bastel, thank you so much for joining us. As always, it's at Dave Bastel on Twitter and then SIA Sport. You can go to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN to sign up. Dave, thanks so much. And we're still crossing our fingers for Barry Trotz in Winnipeg, my friend.
Could happen next week. I got a good feeling about this.
He's been saying that for a month. He's like, it could happen next week. Okay, maybe the next week.
I thought it was about 8 weeks now.
Yeah.
It feels like a lifetime. Make a decision.
Thanks, buddy.
See ya.
Since incorporating Magic Spoon into my daily routine, and I wake up early, I have noticed fewer cravings throughout the day and more energy to hold me over till lunch. And I have to eat lunch right before these guys show up for the podcast. It's always a double show day.
You have a weird schedule.
It's a weird one. And thank goodness for Magic Spoon with its 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, only 4 net grams of carbs, and only 140 calories per serving. It's keto friendly, it's gluten free, it's grain free, and it's low carb. Go to magicspoon.com and the promo code is SDP.
Tell me about the cookies and cream.
You should try it. magicspoon.com/STP. Get a custom bundle of cereal. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, is back with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, although who wouldn't like cookies and cream, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal needs to come from magicspoon.com/STP. Use the promo code STP. Save $5 off. Thank you, Magic Spoon. Hey, you already know that with the promo code DANGLE, you could go to where?
Manscaped.com.
That's right. Thank you, Jesse. And you can get what, Jesse? Because Steve doesn't know.
I panicked.
Lawnmower 4.0. 20% off.
20% off the
and
Lawnmower
free shipping.
4.0. And free shipping. That's right. And the promo code is what, Steve?
Dangle!
How do you spell it?
What the DANGLE?
That's right.
Is your own name?
struck me as a strange question.
GLYNN.
There's no Glenn promo code. No one cares who that guy is.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code DANGLE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code DANGLE at manscaped.com. It's time to get wet and clean with your new Manscaped shower routine. Hey, Steve.
Butt fun.
That's good.
How has your butt been doing lately?
It's round and luscious.
How about you, Jesse? How's your butt doing?
It's been fantastic because it's prepping for a Summer of Jays games.
Ah, and where do you get your tickets, Jesse?
Oh, baby SeatGeek.
Oh, no, just SeatGeek, not Baby SeatGeek.
Oh, okay.
What?
No, I was just saying it's a very good transition.
Okay, well,
it's ruined now.
SeatGeek is beloved by so many butts around the world, including Jesse's. It's baseball, it's concerts, it's basketball, it's football, it's festivals. Whatever it is you're doing this summer, check out SeatGeek, and you can get $20 off your first purchase with the promo code SDP at SeatGeek.com or using the SeatGeek app. Again, promo code SDP for $20 off your first SeatGeek order. SeatGeek, take your seat to a seat. Download the app today.
The Rogers Center needs softer seats.
Well, bring a pillow.
Are you ready for some breaking news as of this show? Chances are by the time you've heard this show, you've heard the breaking news, but we hadn't. And I am very proud of this. Okay. Gentlemen, let me ask you a question. Let's rewind to the 2021 playoffs. What sticks out to you about the 2021 playoffs, not including the Leafs falling apart?
The magical run of the Montreal Canadiens.
What did the Montreal Canadiens look their best throughout that run?
When? I would say
there was moments. Jesse knows what I'm talking about. He knows where I'm going with this.
There's a man that Adam hates more than anybody in the world.
I don't hate this man.
I don't know why he's his arch nemesis,
I don't
but
hate
he
this
is.
man. I don't hate this man. He's a good man.
No, it's not out of hatred of Dominic Ducharme. It's out of respect for Luke Richardson.
Correct. Who is officially the head coach of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Really?
I had no idea that, what's his face? Who's their interim head coach?
Guy. I don't know.
Okay, let's put
I'll be honest with you. There have been other stories out of Chicago this year I was a little more focused on.
I completely...
Derek King.
Thank you.
Derek King. I always
Former Leaf.
thought that Derek King was their head coach. I didn't realize
I didn't know he was interim either.
He was interim. That
Andrew
their
Burnett
spot was
too.
open.
Andrew Burnett.
Well, Andrew Burnett's, that's a whole other thing we discussed. But like, he didn't have the job this whole time?
I mean, they were cucka. They're cucka inside and out.
Wow.
They're hoping to de-cuckaify themselves.
I don't like your pronunciation of cucka.
So Richardson played 1,400 NHL games, was drafted by the Leafs, I think ended his career with the Leafs. 8 years as an NHL assistant and 4 years as the AHL head coach. He was my pick to be Montreal's head coach. Marty St. Louis has been a great fit there. But the best the Montreal Canadiens looked was when Dom Ducharme had to sit out because he tested positive for COVID. Now, that's unfortunate circumstances. Obviously, you don't want that. But you have to say, this guy, this is a person that... Finally, it's like a little bit of new blood, but really not really.
Well, highly respected coach, and he's had a long road. Really earned his coaching stripes. He's had some personal tragedy as well, and nice to see him rewarded. And like with the Blackhawks, I mean, that's a culture thing, and the head coach is obviously part of rebuilding and fixing a culture, but it goes a little bit above his head. So let's not lay all that at Luke Richardson.
Oh, I certainly wasn't. I hope you don't think
no,
that I was.
I don't. I'm his job though is Herculean. He has to make the Chicago Blackhawks good.
I don't think the Montreal Canadiens dominate Vegas. I don't know if they beat Vegas if Luke Richardson isn't the coach.
Man, Vegas looked like shit.
But I think he maximized what Montreal was. Like, you go back and watch that series, honestly, like nobody thought going in that Montreal stood a fucking chance there.
Yeah.
And that team, boy, they played great under him.
You know what Chicago needs? A goalie.
Yes.
So now I'm doing the wrong thing that everyone does when a new head coach gets hired, who's had success in the past. I go, all right, who plays who on the other team? Well, Chicago doesn't have a Carey Price, so let's get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have a Shea Weber either.
Mm-hmm.
The Leafs signed their Philip Deneau and David Kampf. Sorry, not Norris. Selke vote getter David Kampf.
Right.
And That's the thing that happened.
Can I read Adam in particular? I want to read both of you, but Adam in particular. This paragraph from Eric Engels on Luke Richardson not becoming the Montreal Canadiens head coach. From Eric Engels. Had Richardson met the prerequisite of being able to communicate in French, he'd have been the logical choice to replace Dominic Ducharme behind the Canadiens bench in February, especially after he helped the Canadiens guide the Canadiens past the Vegas Golden Knights and through the first couple of games of the 2021 Stanley Cup Final in Ducharme's absence due to COVID-19. Because he didn't and still doesn't, the Canadiens have been expecting other teams to come calling to potentially offer him an opportunity to run a bench elsewhere. This was obviously written before he got the job today, and then he did get the job in Chicago.
So, well, that's good.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think, okay, so we've talked about this before, and there's a lot of cultural sensitivities that you have to tackle when it comes to Francophone versus Anglophone in Quebec. It's it's unfortunate right now, especially because it's very versus rather than very together.
It's super anti-Anglo.
And it's hard as an Anglo to understand unless you grow up in it. Yeah. And it's hard as a Franco to understand the Anglo point of view outside of it because they feel like their culture and their language are being taken away from them by virtue of the fact that a lot of the world's basic language is English. It's like this is my home country's tongue, but I also speak English. I'm from India, but I speak English. I'm from China, but I speak English. And so imagine being in a country where it is a dual language and they want to protect that. So there's that part of it. And there's a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans and people who are from Quebec who look at the Montreal Canadiens as like, this is a French representing club.
It's part of the fabric.
It represents the nationhood, which they've been granted, nationhood of Francophonage in, I don't know if that's the right word, but Francophones in Canada. That's the sport representation of it. So from that perspective, I can understand. The problem that it presents is that you can run into situations where you're limited and you have to hire Michel Therrien twice. And, right? Yeah. And it doesn't mean that there isn't a mountain of crazy talent coming out of Quebec when it comes to hockey. But if you can imagine Ontario, which is, 14 million of 36 million in this country?
Something like that.
Imagine the Leafs said to you today, we are only going to hire from Ontario. Only people from Ontario can work for the Leafs. You'd be like, that's really dumb because you want to get the best person available, not the person who's from that particular location.
Even though the pool is large,
it
should be bigger.
It should be as big as you can get it. But again, Leafs and the Habs are not the same.
Right.
It's a
what
different
if
thing.
we said we're only going to build a roster of former Sioux Greyhounds, and then we end up with the Toronto Maple Leafs? You're probably losing the first round. I don't know.
I don't know that.
Someone's going to clip that and you're going to be in trouble.
I don't know. The Leafs just acquired Darnell Nurse.
If we ever have Kyle Dubas
and they got Nick Ritchie back as well.
I don't know if Kyle Dubas would ever do this show. He only tends to do Overdrive and whoever's doing afternoons at 590. But if we ever get that chance to have him on the show, we got to tease him.
The Leafs told me that they don't do podcasts, which was very annoying because like a month later they did a podcast. So hopefully that was a while ago. Hopefully
they don't do this podcast. Is that what they're saying?
That's the way I interpreted it, Adam. But we'll try again.
You know what? I won't take it personally.
Yeah.
Anyways, the Francophone thing in Montreal, it's a thing. Like, I respect the idea that they want a coach who can speak French to represent them.
Yeah.
Julian McKenzie, I don't know if it's a clip on our channel, but he had a really thoughtful mini essay on it, and CJ sort of turned the microphone over to him because, Julian has a very...
Is Julian thoughtful?
Yes. But he has a unique perspective that we don't have.
Of course.
Where, he lives there, and I don't know if Julian is Francophone or not.
He speaks French.
He speaks French, but that doesn't make him a Francophone.
Right.
And that's very different. Like, if I spoke French, people in Quebec would not be like, one of us.
You know
what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm an Anglophone, literally an Anglophone. I have family from England, so it's a little different. French speaking versus Francophone is different. So then I remember part of the conversation being, okay, is it necessary that you speak French or
be Francophone?
Be a Francophone.
Clearly, it's not be a Francophone.
Right.
It's clearly just, and you know what? I don't know how long Luke Richardson was in Montreal, and I know as a head coach, you don't have a lot of time, or as an assistant coach, you don't have a lot of extra time. But if you know that and you want the job, you're going to have to learn to speak
Are you
it.
telling him to get Duolingo?
I'm telling him that, what's the other one? It's Duolingo and the stone, the Rosetta Stone.
Rosetta Stone.
You won't believe it. Just 5 short weeks, I learned to say several sentences.
Are you saying last offseason he should have fired up Rosetta Stone?
I mean, if you want to be, listen, like it or lump it, you want to be the coach of the Montreal Canadiens, learn fucking French.
Yeah.
You need that guy.
That's what it is.
You're not
disagree.
wrong.
You can disagree with it. You can say it's wrong. I think Randy Cunneyworth, I'm not sure Randy Cunneyworth, when he was the coach, spoke French, and that was a fucking disaster.
And the whole time he was there, everyone was like, boo! We cheer for your inevitable failure. Go away. And then he did and never came back.
That's right. So I think, listen, it is what it is. Whatever side you fall on, to me, it's sort of like that is the policy. So that's what you got to do. Marty St. Louis came in and did a great job. So you're good. Luke Richardson, it's good to see him get a shot at this, because I actually think this guy is one of those next up and coming coaches. I really think he is going to be able to get a team that, and no offense, Canadiens fans, but outside of Shea Weber and Carey Price, that wasn't, first off, it wasn't a team that was used to its full potential. You know, scratching Cole Caulfield and Lettinen, and
They should have swept the Leafs.
no, but I mean, you know what I'm talking about? Like, they just never, look at how terrible Cole Caulfield did until literally the coach was fired this year.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That was so weird.
It's like his career took off again when Ducharme was gone. I think
It's like when Bruce Boudreau told Brock Besser to shoot.
I think Luke Richardson's going to be the kind of guy who gets a system in place where he's going to be able to maximize on, outside of Patrick Kane, a minimally talented roster, especially if that roster no longer includes DeBrincat.
I think that's the big complication this summer. Is Chicago trades both those guys.
You think Kane will get traded?
Kane and Taves, yeah. And shit or get off the pot.
Who's going to trade for Taves' deal? Half it, maybe?
It's only 1
that's-
year left.
Yeah,
But it's $10.5 million.
Yeah, but you add that at the deadline, so the remaining cap's going to be like $3 million bucks
maybe you
for the
could
rest of
retain-
the year. Yeah.
Could be difficult.
It's going to be no money.
Yeah, it could be difficult to do, but if you're Chicago, I almost feel like that needs to be a priority. Shit or get off the pot. Or extend. Don't do I
that.
always say this, don't put your fans through this. Don't make them wonder.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, do it.
Let them commit to the jersey they want to buy this year.
Yeah, I said that with Line A, and then the Jets and the Blue Jackets were able to move on from contentious situations, and now the Jets, they're back in one.
Yeah, so that's actually a great segue. Pierre-Luc Dubois, and this was broken by Elliot Friedman. Murat Ates in Winnipeg does a great breakdown of this for The Athletic, as he always does. Pierre-Luc Dubois has said to the Jets, I'm going to test free agency in 24. And I thought it was interesting that he did it this early.
Yeah, I don't know if you've all looked at your calendars recently.
What year is it?
It is 2022.
How long ago how long before the summer of 2024 hits?
2 years. It's a super weird thing to say, man. It's tantamount to a trade request.
I don't even know, and I don't know what the rules are on this specifically. I thought it had to be 1 year out before you even began the discussions on an extension.
Yeah, he's not eligible to sign a new deal.
Or maybe you can talk about it, but you can't sign it.
Yeah, but I'm sure people break that all the time, and they probably say things like, so, in theory. Like,
What would, in theory, that look like? Allegedly.
What are you thinking? How do you like it here? Etc. It kind of makes it worse. Like, imagine the Jets didn't just straight up ask, so what do you want to re-sign with us in 2 years? Hey, what are your weekend plans? Well, I'm not going to re-sign here in 2 years. And can you imagine? Man, that's a really tough one for Winnipeg because he was pretty good. That's a good player, man. Like, he got his career back on track, and maybe
He had a great year. This season was a big disappointment for the Jets, as Murat puts into the article here. But I'm curious about this in the sense that
him under Barry Trotz, I think, is an amazing fit.
Yes, and so like especially and Scheifele under Barry Trotz would be fucking hilarious.
Well,
but I think
Dubois
Scheifele's
might
on
offset
it.
that.
I think Scheifele's on his way out.
I think he
wants
is
out.
too.
But what I want to ask here is this a negotiation ploy? Because I know
it's a year out from being a negotiation.
But that's what I mean. Is that are you able to? And this is just a thought. But are you able to by putting that line in the sand? It's almost like there was the guy that this is going to be a very Adam Wild thing to say. But there's a type of negotiation called brinksmanship. And it was labeled after the Soviet leader who took over for Stalin. And here's how he would start a negotiation.
Who doesn't love Adam?
Here's what he would do. He'd sit at the negotiating table and essentially say, I'm going to fucking nuke you. So give me what I want. That's where he'd start. Most people start the negotiation, well, if this, then this, then this, then this. There's nukes in the future. He goes, I'm pressing the button. So what are we going to do here?
Right.
And I wondered if this wasn't the brinksmanship thing. This is where we stand now. Your job, Winnipeg Jets, is to turn your shit around. Put a good franchise on show Pierre-Luc Dubois, your new number one center after Scheifele goes, that this franchise is worth sticking around for long term, and then we'll talk.
Here's I think the key for Winnipeg Jets fans and management. Do not take anything that comes out of Winnipeg right now too seriously.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Elliot Friedman and Jeff Merrick had a great conversation on 32 Thoughts. This was months ago about the Winnipeg Jets and the situation there. Some teams, it seems obvious, had a particularly tough time of it with COVID.
Sure.
Not necessarily getting it or, having to overcome it.
Lockdowns, things like that.
The lockdowns. Yeah. Some teams had a particularly tough time of it. Look at Calgary last year versus this year. Right? And they don't like each other, and we're going to trade our second best forward, and it didn't make any sense. Winnipeg hasn't had the success, and there seems to be some friction in the room, and there are a lot of question marks, in particular with the head coach. So I wouldn't take anything that's said too seriously, because I think there's a lot of grumpy feelings there, and guys who want to be traded, guys who want to stay but think they might be traded, guys who think their teammate might be traded and they don't want to have to deal with that. I think things still need to cool down a little there.
Part of me wondered too, because he was essentially forced into signing, because he's an RFA. He's essentially forced into signing that deal, that 2-year deal with the Blue Jackets with Jarmo Kekalainen. You remember that?
So weird.
He was he's like, I don't want to be here. Or I do want to be here. Now I don't want to be here. And then he signs the 2-year, $10 million contract, right? So he's an RFA this year.
He got $5 million?
$5 million a year.
Good for him.
I'm wondering if he just doesn't want to be strong-armed into a deal he didn't want to sign again.
Possibly.
Because Muir puts together like a list here. And, this could go to arbitration. Somebody could come in and they could offer sheet him. He could sign long-term in Winnipeg this season. Although you have to think he probably wants a short-term deal now and then long-term deal later. Or he gets traded.
I think it's a trade request, personally.
Do you actually think that's what's going to happen?
Because they don't have to.
They gave up Line A and Roslovic for him.
Oh, I know. No, this to me seems like a guy with no leverage trying to find it, and it's not there. Because the hockey world isn't reacting like, whoa, something's about to happen. We're all like, that's weird of you to do there, Pierre. We don't, it seems like a strange thing to do, because it is. He's got 2 years left on his deal.
No, he's 2 years left on restricted free agency. I'm sorry, I should have made that point, is that he is an RFA right now.
Oh.
Yeah, I made that mistake too. I was like, wait a second. And then, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I thought everyone...
that's the crazy part. I made that mistake too. And then I looked it up. He's got his deal is done.
Oh,
yeah. I thought he was
too. That's what was so weird about it. So I guess it's sort of like,
oh, well then it is a negotiation tactic.
it's literally two.
Oh yeah. So he's negotiating a deal right now. To clarify the story.
I suppose.
Mikko Lehtinen.
I should have looked that up. I don't know why. I thought it was on a 3-year deal for some reason, or a 4-year deal or something. But
I don't know. No, because
be.
I remember reading about this and seeing people saying, but he has 2 years left. That's stupid.
2 years of control.
Oh,
I guess is what we're.
Yeah, that's a little different.
Yeah, this is different. So he's an RFA right now.
And he's saying, I'm not signing long term.
Then you just trade him.
Do you trade him?
He can put in a trade request. He's a RFA.
You're already
I
going to
think
trade
that-
Scheif.
Well, at least he's being honest about what he wants. He doesn't want to, I don't think he wants to be here long term, or the Jets have made him an offer and it's poor.
Yeah.
I think that's likely a case too.
Right? Like, oh yeah, we're going to get him on a discount long term.
No.
So who knows? Maybe he was offered 4, 5, 6, 7 years, but it's roughly around what he's currently making. And no, that dude is a prospective 30 goal scorer in this league. Hard-nosed center, plays a good two-way game. Yeah, no, like that dude, he shouldn't really want to sign long-term unless he gets his number.
Yeah.
How many centers like that are available? And when they hit UFA, they all make $7 million plus.
Yep.
Yeah, no, if he's not getting his number, he should hold out.
Yeah, and
So it's not a weird tactic at all.
especially because of the franchise and like their state right now and what's happened over the last year. It seems to be this franchise that's spiraling out of control, but for Winnipeg Jets fans, they should be very happy about all of the pieces they have, because this can be a very quick turnaround if management does the right stuff. Kevin Shoveldayoff does the right stuff with the team. But like I know this week, Frank Saravalli added Blake Wheeler to his trade bait board, potential trade targets. So that adds like Scheifele, Wheeler, Dubois, like they could all be out the door.
I think it's time for Scheifele and Wheeler.
Yeah,
I think it's time.
It's like using a kettlebell as bait, though. Like, I don't know who's trading for that contract.
Right. So there's a lot of options here for Winnipeg. And if PLD looks at the situation, he's just like, if you're not offering me a shit ton of money, I don't really want to play in Winnipeg with this franchise I don't know the state of it come September. So
Yeah.
we'll see what Kevy does with the team, but I don't know.
I don't like that.
Kevy Chevy.
Yeah, 'cause
Kevy-
it's shoveled
nope.
day off, so
Nope.
it's Kevy.
So Blake Wheeler's no move clause has been downgraded for the last 2 years of his deal. He makes $8.25 million a year,
Oof.
and he has no bonuses. So you have to
It's full salary.
yeah, it's full salary. So now certain salary years, like last year he made $10 million. This year he'll make 6.5, but next year it's a flat 8.25. So you would expect that if anybody does want to trade for that contract, they're probably in the upper tier of financial wealth in the NHL. He has a modified no trade clause, and that is it.
What's the modification?
He submits a 5-team trade list.
No, so he can get
That's
traded
it. Just
anywhere.
5 teams.
Yeah.
Weird.
That like a Wheeler deal, I could see teams like Pittsburgh or Boston,
Pittsburgh.
going after that and
Jason
do it.
Zucker didn't work out so well in Pittsburgh. Wonder if that's
Oh.
How many years does he have left there?
2.
Two
And
on the
he,
deal?
In 65 games last year, 60 points, hard-nosed guy, plays 0 defense. I mean, at least the rest of Pittsburgh would play defense around him.
Any high-scoring winger with flaws in their game, if you mention Pittsburgh, I'm like, well, and that's been a constant for nearly 20 years.
All right, especially with the situation where you have Malkin potentially leaving, Letang leaving. Like, there's money.
Wheeler and Malkin being teammates would be very interesting because they hate each other.
Yes.
Um,
So Malkin's leaving.
Yeah, you'll remember one of them injured the other. I don't remember who injured who, but then in the return game, they fought.
Blake Wheeler is old enough to be a draft pick of the Phoenix Coyotes.
He was a 5th overall pick
Yeah.
of the Phoenix Coyotes.
What year?
Oh, 2005.
Close.
Oh, 4?
Yep. Pretty damn good, Steve.
35.
Yeah.
35.
Yeah.
Still scoring lots of points.
Oh,
though,
yeah.
so
Old.
you need old. He's as
Real old.
old as you and me, man.
Yeah.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
So if your core is still made up of the Kyle Connor, Ehlers, Appleton, the great Adam Brooks,
I was like, what?
you still got Connor Hellebuck.
Uh-huh.
It's not a bad core. Nate Schmidt's still there. Josh Morrissey.
And they got wow. They got some young. Sorry,
I agree. I wasn't sure what that was either.
I've been doing a lot of talking, and they got guys coming too, like Cole Perfetti.
Like I'm just trying to say, it's not a wasteland for the Jets.
No.
Like there's a lot there. There's a lot of pieces that they can move out to be competitive this coming season. Like they could be a good team.
I would call this an elevated tinker. Yeah, and
smart with it.
No, like teams that aren't doing so hot, you go, okay, well, do you at least have stuff? Because there are some teams that don't have stuff.
Adam mentioned the
They have
Blackhawks. There's a team who has a little less.
They don't really have stuff.
No.
No, but the Jets have stuff. They have stuff.
No.
You go up.
Kyle Connor's one of the best goal scorers in the league.
They got stuff.
Stop it.
What?
I also think you probably could find somebody that needs a center in PLD if he really doesn't want to be there. And then
Stop! It's good. They're gonna get Barry Trotz. Good, everybody.
if you press fast forward, I don't blame you right now. Holy smokes!
I do.
It's very loud. Hey,
yeah, don't do that.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how the Ottawa Senators, who I maintain with zero proof are going to get sold, have a deal as the preferred bidder for the LeBreton Flats project now?
I mean, it seemed fairly obvious.
What do you think was the sticking point?
Eugene Melnyk had.
What do you think was the sticking point, Steve?
Eugene Melnyk? He had his number or whatever. He had what he thought was a fair deal. He thought he had what he deserved, and he wasn't going to budge off it, and he didn't.
Now,
now someone else is willing to budge off of it because it's not their number, is it?
If I was keeping the team, I would do this. But if I was selling the team, I would even more want to do this because as I said in the beginning of the week, you want this franchise to be valuable. The biggest hindrance to this franchise is where they play.
Yeah.
It's just Sens fans have
sucks.
the shittiest commute. I think Coyotes and Sens fans have the shittiest commute to their arena. Like they do. Like Coyotes fans have had to do several different places over the last few years. You know,
Ottawa's a good city.
Oh yeah,
It's
there's
a good
nothing wrong
city.
with Ottawa.
Downtown Ottawa is a good city.
That's the thing.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
That's
like when
the
the
thing.
Corel Center, when it used to be the Corel Center, when it was built, it was in a field by itself. Like when I went to the Junos and reported on the Junos there for
Junos.
breakfast television.
What year was that?
That was 2017, something like that.
Was that the Canadian Grammys?
The Canadian Grammys, yeah. I had to stay in a hotel next to the Corel Center. Is there anything to do, you ask? No, there's not even a restaurant. Couldn't do anything. There was nothing to do.
There's some stuff now, but it's not a community.
It's a snore, is what it is.
Yeah.
It sucks. And so if you're trying to, I mean, I don't know how this is all going to work with, you know, how that all gets passed down because Eugene has kids. Maybe they keep it. Maybe it's a Melnyk family thing. Either way, to me, this looks like a for sure sale, and you need to have this sorted out before you go trying to sell it because it adds tens of millions of dollars to the value.
It's an inevitability.
The thing I would say, though, is the problem that you run into is if you do keep it in the family, what can happen is that, you know, you've got multiple people in charge of the family trust, and not everybody agrees on how that money should be spent. And the ownership group of the Senators is going to have to spend money. So if they were able to sell it, the new group would take over that same particular number, obviously not Eugene's number,
Whatever it was.
and they'd get it done. And I think you're going to need, to me, it seems anyway, you're going to need somebody with pretty big pockets. Like you look at the cost of football stadiums now, and I realize that that's very different from a hockey arena. What was that? The Cowboys were obnoxious about it. They spent $4 billion. What did the Rams pay? $2 billion?
I think.
And what did it cost to get Climate Pledge Arena done?
Oh, in Seattle? I don't know. Just write an absurd amount of money that you can't fathom, and it costs that much.
The Rams were 5.5.
$5.5 billion.
Because they surpassed AT&T Stadium. Because
Now,
the Cowboys were 2, the Rams were 5.5. Climate Pledge was. That was all private money too. The Climate Pledge, 1.5 billion.
Okay.
Or 1.15.
So here's what we know. Wow. At the last estimates, this could be wrong, but the last estimates of the Melnyk family fortune is somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 billion. So you're going to tell me that they're going to... Now, they are not going to be the only ones spending money on this, but they're going to spend $1.5 billion on an arena?
1.15.
$1.15 billion? They're going to spend half the fortune on the arena?
I don't
Again, those numbers
that's not how it works.
Well, that's my point, is that I don't know that the pockets are deep enough there. I don't know.
Yes, just
I think it's going to be a sell here. And I think it's going to be quick. This LeBreton Flats thing happened like that. You know, that was a real, in business terms, that's very quick. I think there's a reason we're not hearing stuff.
Interesting.
Do you know what I'm saying? There's no smoke out of Ottawa, which makes me wonder. And you know what? To be honest with you, we don't pay enough attention to Ottawa on a regular day. But the reason we paid so much attention to them is there was so much smoke because everybody was putting out Eugene's fires. And now that that's not there, nobody's talking about it. Something's happening.
No, something's happening.
It's too quiet.
Speaking to locals, like it's sort of, there's a vibe of like, all right, freaking get on with it. Like LeBreton Flats has been preparing for this for a very long time. It's the obvious conclusion of where the Senators end up playing. Get it done. Get it done. It's way too big of a city with way too big of a surrounding area to not be a successful NHL franchise. Get it done as soon as possible.
There it is. Greg Wyshynski did a deep dive.
Boo! Sorry.
Noted guy you should boo, Greg Wyshynski. Did an article for ESPN on the NHL, the NHLPA, and their official NFT licensing deal.
Oh, did he?
And I just thought, so Sweet is the company. It's going to launch next year, and it will bring together the NHL, the NHLPA, and the NHLAA, which is the Alumni Association. So it will be former players as well. And they say that we're looking forward to promote games like never before. There will be gamified collection experiences, 3D interactive trophy rooms, dynamic NFTs designed to change based on current team data. And I guess they're going to have quests and challenges as well. I have to be honest with you. I don't get any of this.
Sometimes we're at this age where we don't want to admit we don't get something lest we sound old. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay that I don't get it. I don't get it. Do you get it?
We'll see what the NHL does.
Old!
I
don't know what's going to come of this.
They seem to be
jumping on a fad that's fading.
Yeah, like it's like I don't get it. I don't get it, man.
We'll see. Oh.
I don't get it. I don't think the majority of how many members, what percentage of the Alumni Association you think gets it?
They get
by the way,
money.
How many of them you think look at their phones like this?
I also think it's okay to not get things right away and take some time to try to understand.
We'll see.
There are NFT people, and they said, and the quote is, for those people who say, NFTs, we don't believe in that. We spent a lot of time speaking to people in the space, and they say the same thing. There will be short-term volatility, but longer-term NFTs are absolutely going to be here and be a viable means for building consumer products.
Sure.
Now, if I ran an NFT company, that's what I would say too. I wouldn't be like, this is bullshit. Look at this bullshit. You know, so I mean, whatever. The way I'm trying to look at life now is like, if I don't have to get it. It doesn't have to be for me.
Just going along, rolling with the punches.
That's
Whatever
what
comes
it is,
my way,
right?
you know.
I'm just gonna
If
chill out.
this is the future, I'll be there. If it's not, I won't. I don't know.
There are plenty of things that I didn't get that ended up being successful.
What? Like what?
Twitter?
You didn't get Twitter?
I didn't get
You're
Twitter.
good at Twitter.
Well, now.
Really?
I didn't get it at first.
I had Twitter in high school.
Fuck off.
Fuck you.
I think I had my first Twitter account in like grade 10.
I'm gonna beat you up.
I hate him.
Oh my god.
I had two Twitter accounts. My first one was at my first station at the Bounce, and then my second one was when I came to Toronto. And I gave up a lot of celebrity follows because back then everybody followed everybody. So I remember I had Oprah and Eli Manning following me, and I thought that was Oprah followed me. And then,
You get a follow. You get a follow. Everyone gets a follow.
It was good. Yeah. So
Oprah humor. It's very good.
Can I make an apology before we move on to the next topic?
Yes.
Yeah. You should apologize.
The state of Maine. I had no idea the Portland Pirates were in the state of Portland, Maine, and not Portland, Oregon.
I did not know that.
The entire history of the AHL team, I thought it was Portland, Oregon.
All right.
Where the Portland is.
No. We're
there's a
going to
new
stay
Portland.
here. Let's stay here. Maine, knock it off.
So
Stop having cities with the same name as other
So
cities.
on the East Coast, there's
No.
a Portland where the Portland Pirates play.
Guys,
Then
I had
why
no
is there,
idea.
even worse, why is there a Lewiston, Maine, and New York?
Guys.
You're right there. You're both right there.
Maine-
That's too close to have two Lewistons.
Maine came first. Portland, Oregon came second. So Maine gets to claim Portland.
Yeah, what about
Portland-
Lewiston?
Yeah, because you would have
Yeah.
made the country from
And then there's
east
the
Home of
Oregon
the
Trail.
Lewiston
Trail.
Maniacs. Used to be or might still be a QMJHL team. I don't know. Yeah, and it's spelled Maine like the state. It's awful. It's awful. Jonathan Bernier played there, I'm pretty sure.
I thought the Portland Pirates were a member of Portlandia, and they existed in Oregon. But as listeners of the show corrected me, they were in Maine this entire time.
How do you feel about your horrendous geography, Jesse?
It would not make sense for Seattle to put reignite the Portland Pirates because that would be all the way in Maine. So Seattle, go to Coachella Valley. It makes a lot more sense than Maine.
They should move their team to Portland. The other one on the West
Oregon.
Coast and call them the Supersonics. They should.
No, you can't.
Just for fun.
You can't.
And then Kevin Durant will play goalie.
Yo, that'd be sick. Would he be good? I don't think so.
No, probably not.
No.
Tall though.
But he'd be very tall.
Would Andre Vasilevsky get mad at him for being taller than him as a goalie?
He could wear proportional equipment and just take up the entire net.
Yeah. I've always wanted to see that, just a huge person get in goal and see if it helps.
Do you think there's something comical about the size of my automobile?
Yeah.
Like,
I want to see that.
I mean, that's
You
what
know?
the NHL scouts have been saying for the last 10 years. Wouldn't it be great if this goalie was bigger? And that's what they keep drafting.
I don't know. Like how I don't know. I don't know how you can get away with it. Like, what's the actual maximum size of equipment with the biggest? Like, if you put a 7'2" person who weighs like 300 pounds in the biggest equipment, does it help? Does your expected goals drop a little? I don't know.
Take the largest player in the NFL.
Yeah.
Give them goalie equipment.
Like, if you threw an agile offensive lineman in there, are you more successful than just a tall, skinny dude who's agile?
See, this is, again, brings me back to, this is the sort of shit I would spend money on if I were a billionaire. Yeah, I'd help people, charities, whatever. But then I would come up with questions and spend money to answer them. It's space and science and whatever. No. Could a large NFL player be an effective professional hockey goalie? That's what I want to know. Don't you?
I don't think
Doesn't matter. It's my money. I'm a billionaire. If I want your opinion, I won't ask for it because I won't want it. Fuck you. I'm rich.
That's the way to live.
Yeah.
If you're a billionaire, that's the way to live.
Yeah, lots of billionaires are like, oh, and what's your opinion on that?
No,
they don't.
all of them.
They don't give a shit.
No, all of them they ask the public what they want to do, and
what was it that Keith Olbermann said on Agent Provocateur about billionaires? Because he was like, I have to, I have relationships with several of these owners who were like, what are they like? And he's like, they have a habit of believing they invented money. Like, he's like, a lot of them, and he says it far more eloquently than I do, but Keith says a lot of them are like, they were at the crossroads of the right place at the right time.
right.
And they were able to take advantage of certain situations. And he said, but then they get to that level and they're like, I really, truly am great.
That was a really
they
good
might not be.
episode. If anybody hasn't heard that episode of Agent Provocateur, go back and listen to it with Keith Olbermann. It's really good.
And Sean Durzi will be on Monday's show, even though I can't spell it.
Druzy.
Sean Druzy.
He was make sure to tag the Kings.
He didn't get a good sleep. He's Druzy. It's what I have to say. We did the interview already, but it's coming out on Monday. We forget,
Release it.
We forget this, but he wasn't drafted in his first year of eligibility.
He wasn't.
And here's the thing that you might not know. He went. He went to that draft.
Brutal.
Oh,
Yeah.
So he's going to tell you what that felt like.
Oh.
Yeah. It was one of the, like, honestly, there are a few, like, the NHL players rightly get the moniker of, man, God, they just don't tell you anything. There's a wall up, right? Sean Durzi dropped the whole thing and told us everything.
Wow.
I don't think you, like, I felt like I'd said out to Alan after the show was done. I was like, I feel like I know him now.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it's gonna make you upset that he's not a Leaf.
Well,
because he's great.
He's great.
He's a really great guy.
So
And it
hard.
fucking sucks, right?
Yeah.
So he
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
He doesn't. He goes to the draft and doesn't get picked.
Yeah.
Then he does get picked by his boyhood team, the Leafs. He was a huge Leafs fan. Never plays a game for the organization because they trade him.
And you know how that famous scene from Moneyball? It's like you've been traded. So is that it? Yep. He talks about the moment he picked up the phone with Kyle Dubas and what he thought Kyle Dubas was going to call about.
Oh, no.
I'm telling you. It will twist you a little bit. Obviously, we're happy to have Jake Muzzin. He's been amazing. Whatever. It was a great trade. But Sean Durzi is a guy that you're going to cheer for. If you haven't already, you're going to cheer for him after the show. It's awesome. Just awesome.
His favorite player growing up was Brian McCabe. Dude was born. Durzi
Born to be a Leaf.
He was born to be a Leaf, and it's a fucking shame.
Congrats on getting an Alan Walsh client. That's a big get.
Yeah.
Tough get. How'd you line that up?
It's crazy. It's crazy. He knew him. I didn't know that he knew him.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
This is,
for you.
before we get to our interview here with Eric Young.
Yes.
Friend of the show, Eric Young, who's going to come on and do some promotion, whatever. We got to talk about this. 5 years ago yesterday, the Columbus Blue Jackets acquired Artemi Panarin and Tyler Mott for a sixth round pick from the Blackhawks for Brandon Saad, Anton Forsberg, who's actually good now, and a 5th round pick in 2018, thereby completing one of the worst modern era trades ever.
And like most of the players in that trade are good, and none of them are with either team.
Yeah. And listen, everybody's like, whenever something good happens to Brandon Saad, I get people tweeting me and they're like, see, Brandon Saad's not that bad. At no point did I say Brandon Saad was a bad hockey player. I just said he wasn't Artemi Panarin. And Blackhawks fans at the time loved to tell me about Artemi Panarin is going to be a free agent in 2 years. And then what's he going to do? And I said, well, what about the 160, 170, 180 points he's going to score for your team between now and 24 months from now? How about that?
Yeah, but that you have to forgive Blackhawks fans because that was at a time where they had reason to believe their team knew what they were doing.
That's true.
And they know better now.
After 2016, it
dropped off
Yeah,
hard.
it did.
It dropped off hard.
He was never a part of any of the Blackhawks Cup runs, was he?
No.
So he's right after because he won the Calder. So yeah, that's
He
a
won
really
the
good point.
2015. Wait.
2016 Calder Trophy.
So right
winner.
after they won the Cup.
2016, you're right. Because McDavid was drafted 2015, sorry. And then 2016 Calder, yeah.
Calder Cup, I called it the Calder
Trophy.
Award.
He was
not Calder Cup.
a part of that team that couldn't score against the Preds and lost their minds and blew it up.
Yeah.
That's
That
why
was
he
the
got
first round,
traded,
right?
Yeah.
That was the first round.
First round, they got like 3 goals.
Mm-hmm.
The
4
whole
games?
series. Yeah. Pecorine, baby.
Man,
That wasn't even the year the Preds made the final.
he was one of those famous good year, bad year goaltenders. Pecorino had a great year and then a terrible year. Jonathan Quick, great year, terrible year. What was it? No, Andrew Berkshire is like Jonathan Quick is good for a month every year.
No, 2 months every year and it's in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Is Pecorine the greatest Nashville Predator of all time?
Yes.
Yeah, who's even close?
David Legwand.
No.
No, it's Pecorino for sure.
Pecorine. There's room for
You got to have Yossi in there.
Yossi, Weber. I wouldn't put
Shea
Suter
Weber's
in
a good
I wouldn't
there.
put Suter in the top 5 there, I don't think.
Yeah, but,
Skill wise, he was, but
well, he wasn't
there.
even the best guy on his pair for most of his Preds career.
What about Shea Weber is a good pick.
Yeah. No, it's got to be Rena, though.
It's Rena, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, let's get to Eric Young, shall we? Steve, are you athletic?
Yeah?
Are you green?
No.
Then you need to drink more Athletic Greens. Don't you?
Darn.
No, I'm kidding. But actually, Athletic Greens is something that's really perfect for you, making sure that you get all your vitamins and that sort of thing in, especially if you're like, let's say you get your Steve, and you're up till like, 3, 4 a.m.
Oh,
Aren't you normally?
Sometimes.
After the streams and everything?
Not
and then,
4. Not 4.
Okay, 3, right? For your,
Let's say you're up till friggin' you're at 72 hours.
All right, let's say you never sleep. What do I take then, Adam?
To be
Let's
clear,
say
If I
you're
don't sleep,
scientific
what do I
anomaly.
take? Yeah.
Athletic Greens does not encourage you not sleeping. They want you to sleep. But if you've got a busy schedule, which is Steve stays up really late. I don't know if you know this. And then he's got to get up with his son Leo in the morning like a lot of parents do. But you're working a lot of times till 2 a.m., right? Is that fair?
It's very fair.
And then you have to wind down afterwards. So Athletic Greens can help you with it. And again, it's great for any lifestyle, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free. One actually contains less than a gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, no artificial anything, and it tastes good. And right now, reclaim your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do, go to athleticgreens.com/SDP. It's 3 letters. Again, athleticgreens.com/SDP. Take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate in daily nutritional insurance. Hey, if you're tired of paying high interest with your credit card on your credit card debt, check out Lightstream. A lot of people don't realize this, but credit cards can have terribly high interest rates. Even if you've got excellent credit, your APR could be like 20%, 30%, sometimes higher. So stop overpaying and take control of your finances with Lightstream. Lightstream believes people with great credit deserve great rates. Now, if you want to, you can apply with a special interest discount code. Again, it's go to lightstream.com/SDP. That is LIGHTSTREAM.com/SDP. Subject to credit approval, rates range from 5.73 APR to 19.99 APR and include a 0.50 auto pay discount. Lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/SDP for more information. Muskoka Brewery, tread lightly. Steve said last episode that it goes well with just wanting to have a beer because I was like, you can pair it with this, you can pair it with that. No.
Pairs well with wanting to have a beer. Pairs well with the summertime.
And it's one of those things where it's a beer, they say on the website here, venture to a place where light beer makes no flavor sacrifice. Oftentimes with super light beers, you're going to get super light taste, not tread lightly. And I wouldn't even call it a super light beer. It's just a beer with 110 calories per 355 milliliter can. And like all of Muskoka's beer, Muskoka Brewery's beer, Tread Lightly is proudly crafted in Muskoka with all natural ingredients. You can get it at the LCBO. You can get it at the grocery store. You can get it at the beer store. It's,
my house.
You could get it at Steve's house.
In Oshawa.
Go to Steve's house, knock on the door, and I'll have a Tread Lightly, please.
Is that a part of? You
Yes,
can go
it's
to,
actually
you can go to
listed.
Steve's house and you can get a you can get a beer.
Okay.
That's the
okay.
thing, yeah.
Okay.
The disclaimer is you cannot. But you can go to the LCBO and the beer store. And remember, it's all made right here in Ontario. Muskoka Breweries.
Good things grow in Muskoka Brewery, as they say.
Tread lightly. Thank you, Steve. Thought that was going well until that moment. And welcoming on, friend of the show, and it's been too long since he's been on.
Far too long.
He's a wrestler for Impact Wrestling. He was one of the first people who openly admitted to listening to this show. I don't know how you publicly did that or why you did. He is a hockey fanatic, football lover, Harley enthusiast, fantasy sports master, Mr. Eric Young. How are you, pal?
Hey, good to be here. I still openly admit it. I mean, it's cooler to admit now. It's like when early 80s, early 90s, admitting you were a wrestling fan was kind of faux pas.
Yeah.
And Steve Austin came on and everyone was watching and it was cool again. I feel like we're in that era for the Steve Dangle podcast.
Oh,
like
that's
you guys
nice.
are doing all the stuff. You got your own network and it's cool to admit it now.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is our attitude era.
I don't give a shit if people didn't think I was cool. This is your attitude here. Congratulations, guys.
It sure was not back then, let me say.
no.
So listen, Eric, obviously there's something coming up that you want to promote, but like I think the first thing we want to talk about is how are you? How have you been?
Yep. Yeah, I'm good. I mean, presto chango, 2 years is gone and we're moving onward and upward with our lives. Unfortunately, I did get older during those 2 years, which is unfortunate. Like I don't have a lot to show for those 2 years, but definitely it says I'm 42 on my driver's license, which I think is probably kind of be a surprise to some people because I still move around pretty good. But yeah, man, just back with Impact, my home, doing some cool hockey stuff on the FTN network with Chris Meany on Game Plus Network, getting ready to do some fantasy football stuff. All the information's there in my Twitter bio. Still riding my motorcycle, you know?
Yeah. And so this is really interesting because you got something happening in Toronto at the Ted Reeve Arena. It's Greektown Wrestling. And Ted Reeve, by the way, used to play the Ted Reeve Thunder. I don't know if they're still called that, but the West Hill Golden Hawks had Ted Reeve Thunder.
Is that when you played Double A?
Oh, I never played Double A.
Oh, Single A.
Single A. Yeah, no, I was never very good. What is with this, Eric? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a homecoming for me. You know, it's always good to come home. They say that the Pearson Airport did not want to abide by those rules, but I just put up my dukes and fought my way through it and made it in. I mean, relatively painless. I'm a seasoned traveler. I've been flying for a living for almost 20 years now. I'd say that was probably top 5 terrible experience of my life coming through the airport. Ryan Whitney was 100% right.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get the Constitution or anything changed, but he's a powerful man. It's a powerful podcast and he did what he could. But the truth is coming back, wrestling in London tonight and then Toronto, the Ted Reeve Arena on Saturday. It's a big event. It's an independent wrestling thing, but they've got Bret Hart. And Bret doesn't leave his house for much because he doesn't have to. But the guy Channing Decker, a guy that was a prominent player at the Ted Reeve Arena, maybe you played against him. I think he was a really, really good minor hockey player. And then for whatever reason, changed his mind and started to be a pro wrestler.
Right.
He should ask my advice because I would have told him that terrible idea. But here he is. And that's who I'll be wrestling, a guy that I've known for years and I really respect. And it's going to be a great show. The card is, if you're a wrestling fan and you follow independent wrestling, this will be one of the biggest independent wrestling shows in Toronto's history.
I think one of the coolest things, Jesse and I went to see you at the Paramount Fine Foods Arena, I think 4 years ago. And the coolest thing is obviously, you were a heel, you're a bad guy. But there was a chant immediately once you hit the ring, which was welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. What's it like for you being a professional athlete in front of home fans? Do you get a home court advantage here?
Yeah, so I think Canadian wrestling fans, and this has been going on for years, they don't much care about what the product is telling them to do. They just they pick their favorites, and the reality is they support Canadian people, and we have to. More people live in the state of California than live in the entire country of Canada. Yet we've infiltrated. For sure, the pro wrestling world. There's prominent figures, Canadian figures on every roster in the United States and in Japan and Mexico. There's something in the water here, creates really good pro wrestlers. And coming home to Canada, like I play a bad guy on television, a pretty good one, I think. And but I don't imagine I will get booed tonight or tomorrow in Toronto. So it's always cool coming home and the loyalty of Canadian wrestling fans and the passion of Canadian wrestling fans is something that I miss a great deal. It's some of the best crowds in the world are right here in Canada. And I always love wrestling here.
What's your favorite Canadian wrestling experience, either as a wrestler or as a fan?
The one it really comes to mind, Tommy Dreamer brought his promotion that he was running a couple years called House of Hardcore to Niagara Falls. They did like a big Canadian event there. I want to say there was around 6,000 people. It was a big arena. It was a really well produced and shot event. They had an all Canadian main event. They had me wrestling arguably one of my best friends in the business, Bobby Roode, who still lives in Peterborough. And they had Mike Carderas, who's a referee that worked for the WWE for like 30 years as the referee. And, we got in and, we're both being cheered and there's a, let's go Bobby, let's go Eric chant. And then, we started to circle to start the match. And then just impromptu, the entire arena sang the national anthem. We just stopped and backed up into the corner and let them do it. What we're doing is it's bullshit. So, we're in the end, we're not going to step on that. We're going to let them do it all the way through. And they did. And I can still remember it, like getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. I don't know if that'll happen because he's from Canada and I'm from Canada. I don't think that'll happen in Toronto, but maybe they'll say it when Brett comes out. He could probably still run for prime minister and win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that we talked about backstage when we saw you the last time, and this is something that you never consider, right? Professional wrestlers looking at game footage, right? Something that you guys do all the time. And it was an event that happened in Toronto. I was there. It was WrestleMania. And you talked about one of the matches that I guess, and forgive me if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong here, Eric, that the WWE still shows young wrestlers, which is Rock and Hulk Hogan. And it was crazy to be there. It was absolutely crazy. But
we get it, you were there.
But
I'm jealous.
But there was something really technical about that you told Jesse and I about that I thought you should share with wrestling fans that listen to us, because it was one of the most insightful things I ever learned about the sport.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is the match it's a masterclass. It's two people at their peaks. One, from the leaders of two different generations and two different styles. And I would imagine two different beliefs, but the top star from the 80s and early 90s, Hulk Hogan, and the top star from the 90s and early 2000s in The Rock, both massive crossover stars. In their own rights, Hogan not ever being on the level that The Rock is now or Dwayne Johnson is now, but both kind of cut from the same cloth. And the WWE had an idea what they wanted. And again, the Canadian fans, they just didn't care. They were going to cheer for Hulk Hogan because of the nostalgia. And they didn't care that he was in the NWO and it was written as he was the bad guy and he did all these things. The Rock is the young guy and they're trying to put the spotlight on him and this, that, and the other. The fans in Toronto did not care. And it was deafening. And the truth is those guys probably had it. I mean, not probably. I mean, I know, I can tell by watching it. They had it set a certain way and they had to change everything on the fly in front of a crowd that size. Live on pay-per-view. There is no second chances. There is no retakes. There is no do-overs. They're doing that all in real time. And that's the real skill when you get really, really good at doing it. And I wouldn't put my name in that category, but that's something that I found over time. Once you become good at it, being able to change momentum and they're doing something and they're liking it. So you do more of that and changing things on the fly. But that was a masterclass and you can see it. A lot of young fans are like, oh, The Rock's the best and Hogan's old and slow. And Hogan dictates the pace of everything in that match. And you can audibly hear him and see him. If you know what you're talking about, he's telling The Rock to slow down and stand and don't move and let them react because he's wanting to go a million miles an hour to prove that he's the best. And Hogan's saying, you don't need to do any of that. Just stand here and let them react. And it's a masterclass, man. It's an absolute masterclass.
I went back and watched it on YouTube after. Oh, yeah. I watched it on the WWE page for whatever channel. He's
on Impact. He doesn't care.
No, but the WWE is always watching. But I went back and watched it because, you don't think about that as a fan. You're just there screaming. But that was when you said that, I was like, it just gave me a whole new lease on what that was. It's crazy.
It's funny. I'm like, oh, we don't always do that. And then I remembered the show that we went to and we cheered for Jinder.
Right. Yeah. Canadian fans always do that.
Yeah. We didn't care.
We don't care.
The other week, Steve was talking about MJF and you did like a whole rant. You caught us up on everything that's happening with him right now. Are there any young wrestlers out there whether in WWE or Impact or on like the independent circuit that you're looking at and you're like, that's the next star? Anybody you're looking at?
Eric Young.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, the name is Young, but he is not young. He is very old. I don't know when that happened. I was the youngest guy forever, and now I'm the old guy. Yeah. MJF, I mean, he's already arrived. Guy that I've known for 8 or 9 years. The second I saw him, I knew he was going to be something. I didn't think that his rise would be this quick. To be honest, he believes and thinks about wrestling very similar to me, and does things very similar to me. And sometimes how wrestling is viewed now and what's popular that's the long road. And it's really cool to see his success. He'll hate that I'd say he's actually a really good dude. He'd hate that. And
no, we have to hate him. He's not a good guy.
Yeah. You want everybody wants to hate him, but he's a good dude and a respectful guy and crazy talented. There's tons, and it's the wrestling business it's booming right now. It's a $1 billion industry for a reason. And there's a ton of guys on the Impact roster, Trey Miguel and Ace Austin. These guys, like Ace Austin could be my son and it wouldn't even be weird. Like I wrestled him. My first match back was Slammiversary 2 years ago. We just had Slammiversary in Nashville on Saturday. And I wrestled Josh Alexander, another Canadian guy. He'll be there on Saturday at the Ted Reeve Arena. I think, in my opinion, one of the best technical wrestlers maybe ever, and for certain, one of the best technical wrestlers in the world right now, lives in Canada still to this day. We wrestled for the world title. Came up a little short, boys, but that's okay. It was a real good match. He's a guy that, he'd be on my list of guys to wanting to work with again. It's a huge list, man. It's we don't have enough time for it. It's just styles make fights, and there's so many cool opportunities and stuff. I'm just hoping the body hangs on for a few more years.
You've talked about being the old guy, and so you've been lots of matches. Have you ever been part of a match where you won, but were later disqualified because of too many men?
There is no video replay in wrestling. Thank God. My win-loss record would be very low. Once the ref makes the call is the call. And as far as the too many men, I guess McKinnon was pretty far from the bench, but I view it as that play. If you're really paying attention to line changes, and sometimes I do, because I'm a complete lunatic, that happens 1,000 times a game.
Boo.
1,000 times.
You're saying verbatim what I said like half an hour ago. Thank you, Eric. Thank you.
Boo this man. Eric,
it's just true. Next hockey game, watch. That happens at least 100 times in a game, and they can't call it all, or we would still be watching that game. It'd still be going on.
Yep.
Eric, what do you think is going to happen tonight? You work with Chris Meany. You guys know fantasy sports, right? Your show is all about it. It's all and fantasy sports is all about sort of forecasting what's going to happen. Tell us
exactly what it is.
What happens tonight?
Yeah, look, this is a rare time where I said that the Tampa Bay Lightning and Colorado Avalanche would play for the Stanley Cup this year. I didn't put any money on it because it didn't really pay out, because everyone was saying that. Those are two powerhouse teams, and we're getting what I think is a pretty good series so far. There's tons of compelling things. I think the games probably could have been a little bit better and a little bit more competitive. But until Colorado wins, I'm not counting out the Tampa Bay Lightning. I've said this on my show a couple of times, and it's the old Ric Flair line, is to be the man, you got to beat the man, and they haven't done that yet. Do I think Tampa Bay wins tonight? If I was to bet, I would say no, but I'm not betting them. I'm not counting them out. They still have, what, in my opinion, the best goalie in the world. Victor Hedman is a top 3 defenseman. Kucherov is a top 5 forward. Stamkos is having an unbelievable year. They are beat up, but so is Colorado. So if I was to bet, I would say Colorado ends it tonight at home. Just the speed, the up and down team speed. They got, this is a funny thing between us, but you guys thought that Darren Helm wasn't even playing.
Yeah.
Or Steve.
Couple of idiots.
You follow the Maple Leafs, and the truth is I'm basically unemployed. So I watched 250 to 300 games a year. So I know every player, and being a fantasy sports guy and a person that is telling people what they should do with their money, I've got to know these things. And knowing Darren Helm was there was one thing, but knowing Darren Helm was that good of a player, I certainly did not know that. And what the truth about him is he's not an offensive guy. He wins faceoffs. He's a good 200-foot player. But the reality is what the one thing that everyone on that team has, Darren Helm can still skate. Really skate. So can Cogliano, so can Kubel, so can Newhook, so can Nukishkin, so can everybody. I mean, that's the one thing, and hockey is becoming that. And it literally, it has nothing to do with size. It has nothing to do with strength. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff anymore. It's just skating ability and speed. And the Colorado Avalanche are showing that it's literally just about team speed. And Tampa Bay hasn't had an answer for that. They tried that flip move a lot during Game 4, where they're flipping it high and trying to chase it down. But that's the wrong strategy, because Colorado's going to beat you to the puck every time. They have speed up and down the lineup, and Tampa hasn't found the answer for it yet.
Man, pretty awesome. Eric, it's so great to catch up with you, and listen, we're excited to see you back here. Thanks so much for coming on the show, man. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. This I think we do this every time. Like, man, it's been too long.
I know.
Yeah, every time it's too long.
We said in Nashville
we
6 years ago. We're like, it's been too fucking long. Anyway, hey,
that's right.
Great to see you, buddy. Next time we'll have you in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say
yeah,
good
that'd
luck.
be cool.
But
That'd be
you're a
cool.
heel, so.
Yeah. Luck is for losers, man. I don't need it.
Thank you, Eric.
The Steve Dangle Podcast.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook.
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.